Ready? All right, so 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so this is Hollow Knight Any Percent Glitchless. This game is fairly new. It came out in February of this year, and it's quite simply described as a Metroidvania. The best way I've put it to other people is that it's kind of if Ori and the Blind Forest and Dark Souls had a baby. It's kind of Ori's stylistic touches and kind of artistic style with Dark Souls' kind of storytelling and general approach to how everything is presented. So I guess the first thing I'll explain is the interface of the game. So up at the top left, you see I have a big circle and 5 little masks. The big circle is my soul gauge. You can think of it basically as like a mana bar. So every time I hit an enemy, it'll fill up a little bit, and I can spend a third of the meter to either heal myself or use a damaging spell, which I'll be getting in a little bit. So that's one of the main things in the speedrun is balancing out whether I want to heal myself or be aggressive and actually be fast and do a bunch of damage. The masks are my health. They don't subdivide like they kind of look like they would, so every one is 1 unit of health. Everything in this game either does 1 or 2 damage to me. Most stuff is going to do 1. There are some various things in the game that will do double damage, but you aren't going to be seeing any of those in this category. So our first trip through the main city here, right after that light post in the background there, the game slows you down and forces you to walk through here whenever you're in here, and you can completely avoid that slowdown by jumping, so I'm going to be just jumping through here to avoid that. The other thing on my interface is that little like popcorn-looking thing with a number next to it. That is Geo. That's basically the game's currency and kind of experience system. Much like Souls games, whenever I die, a shade will be left behind. It's basically just a dark version of myself that will be carrying all the Geo that I was carrying when I died. That's actually going to be coming into play for one trick later in the run, but we'll explain that a little bit more when we get to it. So this is one of several little enemy gauntlets that we're going to be locked into. There's a weird bug with these that might come into play later, where if I use the spell that I will get in a little bit here, near the wall, it will sometimes just eat the spell. So I'm going to be avoiding being by the walls as much as possible in any of those little gauntlets where I'm locked in. So right now, pretty much what we're doing is just going along the fairly linear opening path of the game to the first boss, who we may or may not actually be fighting. Just gonna heal here. There's a weird bug in this next hallway where there's just like a random invisible wall above you when you're trying to jump over these enemies, and I'd rather not chance it. Okay, it didn't happen. It happens like 1 in every 100 times, but it's one of those weird things that you just kind of have to play around. So this is False Knight. This is the first boss. If someone wants to explain how False Knight works.
Yeah, so False Knight's going to come down, and he has 3 phases that you normally have to go through by hitting his armor repeatedly until he flips over like that, and then his head will come out. After this, he'll start doing this attack where he swings back and forth and knocks down meteors. But the thing about this boss is that you don't necessarily have to fight it. That wall will break open and you just go through it.
We used to have to fight this guy because he drops an item that lets you get into a later area of the game from the left side. Because of some fairly recent reroutes, we're actually going to be going into there from the right side, and we don't need to get the item that he drops anymore, so we can just completely skip him. So here I'm going to be picking up the spell that I mentioned before. This is Vengeful Spirit. It's basically just a fireball that shoots out in front of me. It is as simple as it sounds. So to explain damage really quickly, my basic nail attacks will do 5 damage right now. This spell that I got right now is 15 per spell, and that'll later get upgraded to 20. So this is definitely going to be our primary source of damage for bosses and pretty much everything else. So this section here is pretty much a little tutorial of how to use Vengeful Spirit. There's going to be some enemies coming up that you have to damage with Vengeful Spirit. And if you try to get close to them to melee them, they close their shells. And they're like one of the key random aspects of this run, at least early on. They function much like eye doors in Metroid Fusion, where they kind of just randomly decide to let you damage them. As I mentioned before, you have to hit enemies to generate the soul to use spells. And these guys can just decide to never essentially shoot out enemies to get soul off of. And he's being a jerk right now. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think my worst record on those is 12 extra fireballs. So it wasn't quite that bad, but that was pretty rude. So now I got the first charm of the two that we're going to be getting in the run. And if someone wants to explain how charms work really quick.
Charms are similar to badges in other games. Basically, every time you sit on the bench right there, you have a certain amount of notches, and each charm takes up a certain amount of notch spaces, and they all have special effects. Like the one he just got makes it to where you get a bit more soul every time you hit an enemy, and the one he'll be picking up later makes it to where all of his magic spells will deal a bit more damage. And so you can get more notch upgrades, which allow you to equip more charms as you go throughout.
There's also a state that you can put yourself in called overcharming, which I'm not going to be doing in the run. It's kind of gone in and out of the route as we've changed things around. And it is a part of other categories. But if you have notches available but not enough to equip whatever charm you're trying to equip, you can kind of like jam it in there. And it puts you in a state of being overcharmed where you're still equipping the charm, but you take double damage from every source. And the true ending run of this game has to do that in an area where the enemies do 2 damage, and you're still at 5 HP, so you essentially get one shot. So a lot of these enemies here I'm killing just to build soul, which I need for a couple small tricks coming up. This actually be a good chance to explain the legacy of Daryl, if someone wants to do that.
There's this kind of intended skip coming up. Normally, in order to get to this platform on the top left, you'd have to have the dash ability in this area. But by manipulating the AI of like a squib, it's like a mosquito thing that was down there, you could pogo off of it. And someone in Oro's chat called it Daryl.
And now we don't even use him. He's been buried down there.
Which is fine, because he's a jerk.
So there's another one of those little turn around and shoot spells for momentum to skip a dash things right there. But I had to use 3 spells to get over the last gap. So I don't have enough soul left to do it here, which is unfortunate, but it's not a huge time loss. So I'm building soul again here for a small mini boss that we're going to get locked into in the next room. He isn't spawned right away, but he has a little, like, his head sticking out of the ground, basically, and you can shoot his head before he pops up. And now all we need to do is hit him once. And what I did there was I jumped above him to bait him into raising his shield above his head, and that allows me to just hit the front of him and completely avoid him blocking my shots, because otherwise he just blocks all my melee attacks. So building soul again here for the boss that's coming up. This is the first like actual boss. This is the boss that you actually fight twice in the main game, but we're going to be skipping her second fight, which is kind of a good thing. I'm not really a huge fan of the second fight. It's a really rewarding fight, but there's some funky things about it. Also, all this grass that I'm cutting is not important. It's just so ingrained in my muscle memory now that I just do it. It's fun.
This is Hornet. she's not terribly difficult in the first fight. She has a few attacks. She dashes at you, she'll dive at you, and then she'll like do this attack where she whips her needle around a bunch. She doesn't move that fast in this fight. In the second fight, she moves ridiculously fast and also has a counter.
She has this really annoying glitch where if you knock her down as she's charging at you along the ground, then her hitbox kind of just stays active all the time and does really weird things, and you can just die basically just by being near her.
It actually did happen there, but it deactivated itself, thankfully.
Yeah.
They actually did fix that in later patches. I'm running on a couple patches old now for the sake of one boss that's coming up later in the run. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to it. But so the upgrade we got from Hornet is the Mothwing Cloak, and what that allows us to do is dash, and this is going to be our primary form of movement as far as going fast. The main thing to note about the Mothwing Cloak is basically you have one charge of a dash whenever you're on the ground. If you dash off of a platform, like I just did there, you maintain that charge in midair. So a lot of what I'm going to be trying to do in my movement is resetting that dash storage in order to dash as much as possible. Once I get the next upgrade as well, that will also allow me to reset the dash counter. So it'll also be a good time if someone wants to explain how or what I'm doing with the menu.
So whenever you open up the menu when you are not on the ground, for whatever reason the game just kind of forces you down to the ground as fast as possible. So like you saw either there at the very beginning of the game, whenever you have the menu open and there's a long stretch of just nothingness below you, if you have it open, he falls much, much faster for some reason.
Also cancels the landing lag.
Yeah. If you fall with the menu open and he gets like staggered sometimes when he hits the ground, but if you hit the ground with the menu open and then close the menu, then you can move instantly.
We have a $5,000 donation from
wow.
Anonymous
Wow.
that says, "Praise be to the developers on their forges of silicone, to the speedrunners forged of wit and great will, and to the spectators of spirit without bound. Through their dedication, may GDQ last eternal. Votes to Runner's Choice."
Thank you.
We also have a $50 donation from Ron Blade that says, "For a glitchless run, I sure am seeing a lot of bug abuse."
So what I was trying to do there was pogo up onto the platform up to my right. And it saves having to walk around here, and it saves about 10 seconds or so. But the other little wasp thing got in my way, so I guess they're mantises. I should respect the lore.
Don't save warp here.
Thank you. So this is the Mantis Claw. This allows me to wall jump. So whenever I cling onto a wall for a wall jump, that also resets my dash. So I'm going to be clinging to walls a lot of falls to reset my dash as well. That's one of the biggest things to optimizing your movement in this game, is just making sure you're resetting your dash as much and as quickly as possible. So what I just picked up there is a Wanderer's Journal. That and another item I'm going to be picking up later are going to be for the main purpose of just selling them. The geo route in this game is really, really tight as it stands, and I pretty much need as much money as I can get.
So what he just did there is just a basic save warp. Every time you sit on a bench, you get healed up to full, and it saves the game. And so we warp back to the one that he just warped to there in the Shaman's Hut, I think 3 or 4 times. So the entire time that he's going through this area, he can't sit on another bench until the trick coming up right here in a bit. So normally you could do that to heal back up to full, but so he either has to not take damage or waste a bit of soul to make sure he doesn't die and go all the way back there.
We have a $50 donation from Kaiser43 that says, "Hollow Knight is my favorite game of 2017. Glad it's here at the marathon. Good luck on Broken Vessel."
Hate to disappoint, but you won't be seeing Broken Vessel.
We We have a $50 donation from Emperor Emblem that says Hollow Knight is truly a beautiful game. It's a shame that I just haven't found the time to play it.
So the thing that I just paid Geo into right there was a stag station. There's going to be a few of those that I'm going to open up across the run, and those are basically fast travel points. We used to unlock that one earlier, but you had to go out of the way for more Geo early on, and it ended up being faster to just get it now when you have Geo anyway. This is also the first boss you're supposed to fight, technically, but we're coming back here now and we just kind of destroy it. That was actually pretty good luck. So when this thing explodes, it releases all those enemies, and where those enemies are is essentially random, and you can really just get super unlucky as far as where the boss dies and where the enemies spawn. So I'm buying the second charm of the run here. This is Shaman Stone. This is going to increase the damage of my spells by 33% and increase the size of their hitbox, which actually is pretty relevant. This allows them to double hit certain enemies and bosses, which is extremely important in several fights.
The damage you just took was intentional.
Yeah. So this is the trick I mentioned earlier that involves us dying. And you'll see why in just a sec.
Oh no.
I beefed it.
Did you intentionally not equip Shaman Stone when you said
Yes.
Okay.
It's a new setup for this. And he's being mean. Alright. Okay, gotta do it again. For whatever reason, that setup hasn't been working for me, like, only today. But it saves, like, 2 seconds to equip Shaman Stone there instead of doing it when you first sit down. I'll just do the old setup and it'll be fine. This doesn't waste too much time to mess up.
There we go.
So the main purpose of that trick was to skip an area called Crystal Peak. Crystal Peak has 2 barriers of getting inside of it. One of them is Desolate Dive, which is a spell that we don't have. We used to get, but we're not going to be getting it anymore. Or the Lumafly Lantern, which costs 1,800 Geo. And in case you weren't paying attention to my counter, I'm not anywhere close to that, and I'd have to go way out of my way to farm for that much. So that allows us to skip basically a whole out-of-the-way section that we used to do. And it saves a decent amount of time. The main purpose of going through Crystal Peak is to get the item that I'm going to be getting next, which is the Dream Nail, which is essentially the big plot focus item. Also, this cutscene can soft lock if you're standing too far to the left, and a lot of people have figured that out the hard way, and it's been pretty brutal.
It's the best. He just kind of floats there.
Yeah, so if you are standing too far to the left there, as soon as like this part of the cutscene triggers, you kind of are just stuck in a falling animation when everything else is trying to go on, and it just soft locks the game. You can't do anything else. So here I have to do this little platforming section with a bunch of blocks that spawn in front of me in order to get the Dream Nail. So that should be a good time for a couple donations if you have some more.
I do indeed. I have a $20 donation from Seb118 that says this donation reader has a great voice, pronounced that Japanese name like it was nothing, and has no shame. I hope he wants to kill the animals, because I do. We also have a $20 donation from Red Hot Chili Tester that says I was supposed to go to a July 4th party today, but I had some minor car troubles. So I wanted to donate the gas money it would have taken me to go to, and from that party, to an awesome cause. Rock on, runners.
So this is the Dream Nail. The main purpose of this is, one, it allows us to press Y and hold it, and it basically has it's like a second attack, but instead of doing damage, it generates soul. So I'm going to be doing that in a lot of downtime during some boss fights to generate soul. It's also required to defeat the main 3 like plot points of the game, which are the Dreamers.
The Dreamers were the 3 larger bugs that appeared when he activated that cutscene right there.
Yeah, so the main goal of this run is going to be to defeat the 3 of them, which unlocks the chamber that the final boss is locked in, and then we just go to the final boss.
We have a $150 donation from Luminous Path that says, "Love SGDQ. Keep up the wonderful work, guys. I look forward to everything you guys do every year." We also have a $200 donation that says, "I am donation" from Everon towards Runner's Choice. We have a $150 donation from DaxiCab that says, "They're going to live on, they're going to survive. Today, the Pixels celebrate their Independence Day."
So this is the area that Aura was talking about earlier, that if you kill False Knight, then you get a crest that allows you to enter this from the left. But because we did that skip, that allows us to enter from the right. We didn't need to kill False Knight, and so we entered from the top.
We have a $500 donation from Team Cherry that says, "Good luck with the run, Oro, and thanks everyone for watching. Honored to be a part of it all and glad we could help out a decent cause."
Thanks, guys. Shoutouts to Team Cherry. They're the devs of this game, in case people weren't aware. They've been pretty cool as far as communicating with us about various things. They also called me a boyish heartthrob, which is pretty flattering.
True.
We have a $72 donation from Gradient that says, "Don't leave Zote." Or do, it's a speedrun, so just go fast. Kill the animals.
You might like knowing that there actually is a category for saving and fighting Zote in the Coliseum, and that's all it does.
We didn't even mention Zote.
Yeah, we didn't. So right before Hornet, there's our good pal Zote that we can save from a big bug. And there's basically a little side quest with him, and he totes himself as the greatest warrior around, and when you fight him, it's kind of just nothing. He turns out to be a complete joke. He's kind of the token joke character of the game.
If you heard the wall walking the Hornet, the like squirming, struggling noises, that was Zote.
Oh yeah, also what I just did there, skip double jump entirely. There's just a piece of the environment that you can pogo off of, and it just entirely skips having to get double jump. That's the only thing you need it for.
We have a $20 donation from Arctic Revrus that says, "Hey Oro, these bugs are cute. Is this the new Bomberman Hero patch?"
Hi, Arctic. So this enemy, I have to be very careful to not touch the ground near him, because his AI will activate and not allow me to just pogo on him like this. I also lost count. Think that's enough? Okay, that's a little bit too much. So you have to pogo on him 22 times and then hit him with 3 spells, and that's enough to kill him.
Those guys can do 2 attacks. They either jump or dash at you, and so it can be pretty annoying because you have to just react. You have to wait there and just react for whichever, so you don't get hit by it.
So the main thing I'm going to do right now is going to the Nailsmith to upgrade my nail. There's one nail upgrade I'm going to be getting because it's essentially free. It only cost me Geo to get. The rest of them require items to get. And this is going to essentially double my damage. I'm going to go from 5 damage per nail hit to 9. And that's going to help speed up the bosses quite a bit. I also need to sell a couple of the items that I've been picking up because we're going to need a lot of Geo after this next fight. So I'm basically picking up the last item I'm going to be selling here. Okay, that's fine. You're just doing your own thing. That's fine. Usually you can just kind of blitz through there, but I took a little bit too much damage getting up here, so I kind of want to be a little safe.
We have a $5 donation from Cuboid that says, "I'm not sure how this can be glitchless when this game is just completely full of bugs. Jokes aside, keep on trucking."
Oh, Paul.
So this is Lem. He's an NPC that really serves no purpose except to buy several items that are in the game for no purpose but to sell. So as you can see right here, we're getting a lot of Geo. And this is the main way we're funding ourselves. Because the Lumify Lantern, as I mentioned before, costs 1,800, which is a huge amount compared to literally anything else you have to buy in this game. And it is entirely required. There are 2 little toll booth things in dark rooms that you have to interact with, and the only way to interact with them is with having the lantern. That is one fun little different thing that the glitched categories get to do instead of glitchless, is they get to go out of bounds and skip the toll booths that require the lantern. Thought I'd be high enough there. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, they get to go out of bounds and completely skip those rooms and do sections of it completely in the dark, which is pretty cool.
We have a $50 donation from Neo Sam that says, "Hey guys, greetings from France. Had to donate for one of the best games I got this year, Hollow Knight, as I intend to speedrun it myself sooner or later. Good luck for the run, and keep up the great work, SGDQ friends."
I guess it's a good window, too, to plug our Discord. So if you go on speedrun.com and go to the Hollow Knight page, there's a link to all of our resources, as well as the Discord. And all you have to do when you enter the Discord, if you're interested in speedrunning this game at all, is to type .gr space speedrunner, and that will give you the speedrunner role in the Discord, and that lets you see all of our different channels. And there's tons of people for every category that are perfectly willing to help you out, including myself. There's also other channels for, you know, art and discussing the game outside of speedrunning as well. So even if you just like the game a lot, feel free to hop in.
We have a $300 donation from Friend on 5 that says, "Glad to see Hollow Knight, one of my favorite games of all time at SGDQ. Happy to support a good cause with some great players and commentators. Shovel Knight hype!"
All right, so now we're going to upgrade our nail. As I mentioned before, this is going to bring our nail damage from 5 to 9, which is going to speed up bosses a significant margin. And we actually have another one coming up pretty soon here. This is one of the conceivable improvements for this run as well, is completely skipping this nail upgrade. But it also kind of requires getting a charm that you can get at the beginning of the game called Fury of the Fallen, which is essentially the red Tearstone ring in Dark Souls. If you're at 1 HP, it multiplies your damage by 1.5 times. That was later buffed to 1.75, but in this patch it's still 1.5. And that's like, on paper, the next move to improving the glitchless run. But no one's really been insane enough to push that low with it at this point. There's just so many fights in this game where being at 1 HP is just really, really awful.
Like this one.
Shoutouts to walls not existing.
So these are the Abyss Watchers. What he just did was drop a chandelier down, and it killed one of them right away. Now there's 5 of them that he has to fight. First he has to fight 1, but then from then on he'll be fighting 2 at a time. They mainly have 3 attacks. One is that rolling attack, one's a bouncing attack, and then there's a sword swing. It's kind of randomish what they do.
Later on, they have a variation of the roll in which they roll backwards. This is another area like you were talking about earlier with that mini-boss, where if you're too close to the wall when you use a spell, it'll just kind of get absorbed and not do anything. So he's going to do his best to stay near, not necessarily the middle, but you just can't be pressed right up against the wall.
Stay on the ground, friend. Yeah, this is a huge random point of the run. It's just whatever these guys decide to do. Ideally, they stack up on each other as well, and if they don't, you lose a bunch of time.
And then they just kind of do that, where they just like twist back and forth.
I'm happy to announce that the Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment Beto's Big Break incentive has been met.
Okay. That was kind of just the result of a couple unfortunate patterns and me mistiming a pogo at the end there.
Bouncing is pretty much the worst of the attacks because it has variable length, and then you get the patterns where one of them will bounce as the other dashes across the bottom, and you kind of have nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's definitely the main thing with this fight is just hoping that you don't get a pattern that you have to get hit by.
We have a $50 donation from Link Cloud that says, been having a blast watching all these games getting destroyed. Thank you to everybody involved at GDQ. We also have a $10 donation from Anonymous that says, donating more as the runs continue, but couldn't help throwing some money in during Hollow Knight. Thanks to the developers for this awesome game, the runner for this awesome run, and the announcer and crew at SGDQ for this awesome event.
So a small thing you may have seen when he used the Dream Nail is the text that comes up. That's a small thing the developers added as like a lore point, I guess. Each of the bugs in the game have a different dream, I guess, that when you ever use the nail, it brings up text. It's different for, I believe, every bug. There's a different 2 or 3 text boxes that'll pop up, which are pretty cool.
This fight used to be a lot easier in this run because of a spell called Descending Dark where you would just like do this body slam downwards, but it would give you so many invincibility frames that you just wouldn't get hit.
Yeah, Descending Dark, when that was still in the route, because of the amount of iframes you get and the amount of damage it did, it made most of the bosses pretty trivial.
It's like not even iframes, it's iSeconds.
Yeah.
We have a $50 donation from Cyril that says, had to donate during the best game of 2017. Put my donation towards Runner's Choice. We also have another $50 donation from Max P that says, greetings from Germany. I've been watching and donating for several years now as you guys never cease to amaze and entertain. Keep up the good work and best of luck to all the runners.
That was a really good fight.
Yeah, also much better.
It sucks that the fight's so pattern dependent. Also, I'm pretty sure you were intended to be a lot stronger when you did the fight the first time.
Yeah, we're getting to the point of the game where you were intended to do a lot more before you fought these bosses, and we're pretty weak for this point of the game.
And we don't get any stronger. So that doesn't
Nope,
help
this is
much.
as strong as we're ever going to be. Yeah, just to give you an idea of just how much HP those guys have. So I mentioned my nail does 9 currently. My spell currently does 20 because of Shaman Stone. Each one of the Watcher Knights, each one of the 5 has 200 HP. So they take quite a lot to chip through. All right, so this is the first of the 3 Dreamers. We're going to get a cutscene here that shows the mark resembling their mask unlocking on the final boss's tomb, essentially. And after each one of these Dreamers, it hard locks our save point, so I can't save warp out of here. I actually have to manually walk out.
We have a $50 donation from Alta Biscuit that says, you know, glitchless is sometimes referred to as bug limit, but that doesn't sound accurate for this game. Hi, everyone on the backup couch. Good luck, Oro. We're rooting from you.
Hi, Alta.
Hi, Alta. Hi, Chops.
We also have a $50 donation from Anonymous that says, found 50 bucks on the side of the road today, so I thought I'd give it back. Happy to see Hollow Knight being run as it is one of my favorite games of the year. Good luck to all the runners and save the animals.
Just to show this game a little bit more, too. This game is amazing. Like, I believe it's still on sale on the Steam Summer Sale, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it just stopped. I'm not sure. But this is you're going to get so much time out of this game for how cheap it is for an indie game, honestly. And the devs put so much like tiny detail into everything. This is just one of those games that you kind of just owe it to yourself to play.
We have a $10 donation from Spencer Will that says, hey Oro, just wanted to support you a bit during this run. Glad I got up in time to see this, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Spencer. So that jump I tried to go for there is really tight. It involves dashing and then jumping off the platform at a specific time, and then you can wall jump off at that little edge there, but I missed it. It doesn't waste too much time to miss, so it's kind of just one of those things you go for, and if you get it, you get it. So now I'm finally going to be heading back and buying the Lumifly Lantern and heading to Crystal Peak, since we can finally afford to do so. This is our good friend, the Stag. He's going to take us back to the main hub.
We have a $50 donation from Anonymous that says, I can't wait to see the Hollow Knight run. It was my favorite game when I was a kid. What? We also have a $60 donation from Nagilum that says, looking forward to seeing Grand Pooh Bear in the Super Mario run. Money goes to commentator's choice. Kill the animals.
All right, so now we have the Lumify Lantern. We're going to be going back to Forgotten Crossroads and going into Crystal Peak. Crystal Peak is probably one of the most movement technical areas of the entire run. Everything in it is cycle-based, and a lot of those cycles are really, really tight. So I'm going to be trying to go through here as fast as possible and make all those cycles. Also, Forgotten Crossroads is a little messed up now.
There's a bit of a lore point as to why Forgotten Crossroads is infected now, related to a boss that you can fight, but even if you don't fight the boss, it's kind of more important that the Crossroads become infected, so it just kind of happens.
Yeah, I believe it's as soon as it's either when you get the Dream Nail or defeat the first Dreamer. I never remember which it is.
I think it's the first stream.
Also, we just saw a little grub friend over there. Does someone want to talk about grubs?
There are these little friends that are captured in these glass containers, and there's like 46 or something, I think,
I think
of
so,
them
yeah.
scattered around the world, and you have to find them, and they make cute little noises when you free them. And then Papa Grub gives you a bunch of rewards for saving his children, and then lets them live out their lives.
Yeah, let's just say there's a nice little surprise for you if you save them all.
Yes.
It's real worth it. I recommend it.
It's pretty good.
We have a $50 donation from Zote the Mighty
Oh,
that
no.
says, I am Zote the Mighty, a knight of great renown. I wish you good luck, but it's better to rely on you. It's better to rely only on your own strength and make no mistake. That last part should be obvious, but sometimes people forget and make a mistake instead. Don't do that.
So if you save Zote, he gives you a bunch of his infinite wisdom in his... How many precepts are there?
A lot.
I should have remembered them all.
Yeah. You get a cool reward if you listen to them all, so I recommend you do that. It's a good usage of your time.
We also have a $50 donation from Anonymous that says, Greg rules.
Shouts to Greg.
Got cups on my ears?
All right, so this is the Crystal Heart. This allows us to essentially what a lot of people refer to as super dashing. It's very similar to Shine Sparks in various Metroid games. Essentially, what I can do is hold the left trigger to charge up a charge up a dash, and I just shoot horizontally really, really fast. And this is one of the fastest forms of movement for long stretches without a lot of platforming at this point.
I believe when I timed it, any time you would have to dash 4 times is when Super Dash would have been faster instead.
Yeah.
Which is most rooms from now on. It also does damage to things, which is pretty nice at this point.
We have a $150 donation from the Lawful Geek that says, this summer, I can finally do more than just watch the amazing runs and donate a bit for the cause. As the amazing people and Doctors Without Borders do what they can to save lives, so should the runners save the animals. We also have a $250 donation from the Fifth Matt that says, Hollow Knight is my favorite game of the year, and it's being run on my birthday to boot. Couldn't ask for a better way to start my day.
So there's a little sequence break right there that a lot of people actually find on their first playthrough and are very shocked when they learn that it's not the intended way to get here. So you get an ability later on in the game that allows you to swim in the like infected water, but there's a gap right there that you can
Neat.
you can dash while you're clinging onto the wall, and there's enough space under there that lets you wall jump up.
If we didn't do that, we'd have to go fight another boss, go through another area where we're not going to be even going to see, and fight probably my favorite boss of the game. And I kind of miss him. He was really fun. But shoutouts to Dung Defender.
May his soul rest in peace.
They even fixed his music eventually.
We have a $50 donation from My Aber that says, has anyone pointed out that there are bugs in this game, but also no bugs in this run? How droll.
So here we have the most fun, least RNG-dependent boss of all time, Umu. It's everyone's favorite.
This boss is also the sole reason that I'm running on this patch. In later patches, they gave him more HP after they fixed a small knockback bug with him. And this boss is extremely cycle-based. I can't damage him while he's doing all this stuff. And the extra HP almost always adds an extra cycle to the fight.
So you can see when he just hit him right there, he just kind of went flying across the platform, and is unintended, and so that's what they fixed. But they also buffed him a lot, which is a sad time. It's optimal to trap him under the platforms because then you can hit him up and he only has so far to go. You can do that, or you can either pogo off the top of him and you'll get trapped under the platforms.
Good.
So there is a pretty decent setup for two-cycling him, but I dropped one, or the one nail hit knocked me back too far, and I fell off the platform, which kind of screwed everything up. It's very positioning dependent as far as like baiting him around, and if you mess it up even a little bit, it gets real hairy. But that was still a pretty decently fast 3-cycle, so.
Yeah, that was good.
So this is the second Dreamer. This is Monomon, who is in a giant test tube. I don't remember why.
We have a $30 donation from Kaiser that says, shoutouts to the Late Night Team Cherry Lounge family in Adelaide. Hope everyone enjoys Hollow Knight. Let's go Doctors and not Borders.
All right, so now that we have 2 Dreamers down, all we have left is one more Dreamer and the final boss.
We have a $50 donation from Koi that says, happy birthday. Money goes towards Runner's Choice, not save/kill. We also have a $32.10 donation from Anonymous that says, I'm glad to see this piece of art make it to the AGDQ floor. My personal favorite game of the year. While I would donate to complete the Colosseum of Fools if I could, alas, I'll put it towards the Majora's Mask glitch exhibition instead.
So that ledge is really weird. It just randomly like kind of eats your dash and you just don't get a dash. I really haven't found any rhyme or reason to it. It kind of just randomly happens. It's unfortunate, but it's not a huge deal.
There's a bunch of small stuff like that in this game that people won't really notice their first time through, or it won't really matter to them, but affecting us every run, it can be pretty irritating.
Thankfully, the devs have been pretty on top of fixing stuff in a pretty timely manner.
Yeah.
We had one of the main things that Discord was good for in the early days was we had a bug report little thing that we had, and we still have it, but it got a lot of use early on, and that was how we reported a lot of stuff, and it got fixed like almost immediately, which is really nice to see.
We have a $25 donation from Seika that says, hi guys, greetings from France. I didn't know about this game before, and once again, GDQ makes me discover a gem I'll have to buy. But before that, take the money I would have spent in the game to help the world become a better place. $10 to Reader's Choice, $10 to Runner's Choice, and the last $5 to Save the Animals. And another $25 donation if the reader can pronounce my name correctly.
So there's actually another path you can take to get to this final Dreamer that saves about 26 seconds if you get another one of those little acid water skips pretty quickly. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to get it consistent enough to where I would have liked to do it in the marathon. But it does save a good chunk of time, but it is a lot riskier. There's also a pretty risky enemy gauntlet along that path as well, and it has a really high chance of killing you. In addition to the acid water skip dealing damage to you every single time you fail it. So this is Deep Nest. This whole area's gimmick is that it's a huge labyrinth maze thing. And this is probably one of my least favorite areas casually, just because it's a pain to backtrack through. But it is a really cool area, and it's really kind of creepy. So there's a few of these hot springs in the game. This is the only one we're going to see. Just sitting in them a little bit restores your health and your soul. And having full soul here is going to be really important coming up. And it saves me from having to hit a bunch of enemies. So this is one area that's the main benefit to having the Lumify lantern. If you're going through here without the lantern, which you can do, the entire area is pitch black and you only get a small little faint light around you, and it's really, really hard to navigate. A lot of the enemies here are really, really annoying as well, so it can be really a pain to get through here without the lantern.
This is probably one of the most fun and rewarding sections of the game to get the movement down properly, along with the first time you go to Fungal Wastes.
We have $100 from Galaga Hero that says, I can't wait to watch the Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver run, so here's to enslaving and killing all the animals. Put this money towards nicknaming the Sentret Mr. Meeseeks. We also have a $50 donation from the Muffin Man that says, had to donate during my favorite Dark Souls Metroid bug fencing simulator. Save the animals.
Or I have an important question for you.
What is it?
Are you going to be saving the grub?
Of course I am.
Okay.
So this is the one grub that we passed by in the run, and you all need to experience how cute they are. So
There's some people I've watched that don't save it, and it makes me...
it's disgusting.
Yeah. How could you? They're all heartless.
It's even faster than saving the animals in Super Metroid. Like, there's no reason to not do it. So this is Beast Den. To enter, we have to get on that bench, and these weird cultists will strap us into this big spiderweb cocoon that is Beast Den.
There's
And-
also a secret entrance, but you need double jump.
Yeah. And pretty much every other category of this game that is one of the longer categories, you can skip this entire area, and it's really, really nice. It's also pretty unfortunate. You can't damage boost through these enemies, these devouts. They have really large invisible walls just like planted on their face. And if you try to damage boost through them or go over them very slightly, like they'll just block you, so you actually have to kill them.
They take like 4 fireballs in 3 hits, so they're pretty time-consuming just to deal with.
They also do a lot of damage to you too. They do 2 damage with their little scythe swing thing, so I don't know why I try to do that.
You can hear the grub crying.
Be free.
There he goes.
We have $40 from Venison221 that says, Hollow Knight is my favorite game ever, and I was so glad to see such a huge speedrunning community crop up around it. Thanks for bringing it to SGDQ.
Yeah, this game's been extremely active from day one. It's been really cool to see, and we've had nothing but new people coming into the Discord seemingly daily.
Yeah, it's been really cool seeing the Discord and the run evolve over time as more people join and figure out optimizations.
All right, so that's the last streamer down. We're going to head back and take care of the final boss.
That's the one dreamer that there isn't a boss associated with, which kind of sucks because the bosses in this game are really cool. But they have the Beast and like Labyrinth, I guess, before it.
We have a $50 donation from Kit that says, donating because I love SGDQ and AGDQ and the runners. You've kept me entertained and amazed for over 5 years, and I donate every time.
I also mentioned earlier, I think the geo route is really, really tight. So I need 250 geo to finish the run. I'm at 257, and there isn't anywhere else to really pick any up from this point on. So there's a couple backups in Beast Den if I needed them, but it worked out perfectly to where I didn't need them.
It's like, what, 20?
There's a 20 and a 40 that you can get.
Yeah.
You can also kill extra devoutes because they give you 43 apiece. But that is kind of a last resort since they take so long to kill. Also, Albino is not a fan of the Stag Station. Defies the Lord.
Oh, yeah. Just upset there's no Stag Station in Basin.
Yeah, so technically Deep Nest isn't supposed to be part of the Kingdom of Hollow Nest, so it's kind of weird that there's a Stag Station down there.
So the Temple of the Black Egg here is, in theory, you're supposed to come here at the beginning of the game when it's not infected and see the full egg with all of the Dreamer masks on it. So the little cutscenes you've seen every time every time one of the Dreamers was killed was breaking open that egg that he just passed through.
This is the final boss, Hollow Knight. It's the previous vessel that came before you. This boss essentially has 4 phases. There's like no clear indicator of it changing except for the second to third phase. But for the first phase, he'll do most of these physical attacks where he swings, so like dash, sometimes he has a counter. He can also teleport. When he enters the second phase, he'll start doing like the orange goo ball attacks where he'll like shoot it or some other stuff.
So he can dash. He has a parry that you saw right there where he holds his sword up.
Alright, he's in the second phase now, because that attack you just tried to do was part of it. This is the third phase now. He's going to start stabbing himself, and no matter what damage he does while he's stabbing himself, it will only deal 1 damage.
Thanks for being a friend. Nice.
RNG manipulation.
Yeah.
See, look at him go. Fourth phase should be coming up pretty soon. It's yeah.
Now all of his attacks are just kind of like sad, limp, and slow.
This is his most weakened form. He just kind of stumbles around.
All right, there we go. And time is coming up pretty quick here. And time. Yeah, so that was Hollow Knight. I want to give a couple quick shout-outs. Shout-outs to Team Cherry for making an amazing, amazing game and being super supportive of speedrunners throughout, the months that this game has been out. Shout-outs to the other runners. Shout-out to Mickley. Shout-out to Fireborn. Shout-out to Sean PR. Anyone else who I'm forgetting, I'm sorry. I actually held the record in this category for a decent amount of time, and then about a month or two ago, a runner by the name of Fireborn kind of came out of nowhere and started just destroying this game and kind of took over after I took a little break and started pushing the game down even more. And since then, the game has just been nothing but booming. Shout outs to Monster, who's helped me put a lot of work into routing the other categories for this game. Between the two of us and a couple others, we put a lot of work into routing 100%. This game has just a lot of category potential, and it's a really great speed game. So.